Welcome back. We're going to continue reading Wild at Heart today. And I have quite a lot to say on the sections we're going to read today. Today, I want to discuss the male desire, the male fantasy, the male psyche, the longing that every man has. And I think you're going to find this interesting. So, I'll just get right into it. There are 3 desires I find written so deeply into my heart. I know now I can no longer discard them without losing my soul. They are core to who and what I am and yearn to be. I gaze into boyhood and I search the pages of scripture and literature. I listen carefully to many, many men, and I am convinced these desires are universal, a clue into masculinity itself. They may be misplaced, forgotten, or misdirected, but in the heart of every man is a desperate desire for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to love. I want you to think of the the films men love, the things they do with their free time, and especially the aspirations of little boys, and see if I'm not right on this. I'm going to read one more time. It says, in the heart of every man is a desperate desire for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to love. I want you to take a look at my logo for a second. I'm going to throw it up on the screen right now. What is depicted here is the ancient story. I say ancient, but it's, I think it was around the Renaissance period. This is St. George and the Dragon. It is a story of a dragon that was hoarding gold. And the dragon was terrorizing this village or this kingdom. And so the dragon took the virgin beauty. And the brave St. George goes and he rescues the beauty and slays the dragon. It is a story that has been repainted in just about every story or movie up to now. You think of the Marvel films, any superhero film is a redepiction of the St. George and the Dragon story. If you think about it, it is the classic story, right? And why is it that this idea is so ingrained into the male psyche? And not only that, but why is it that a common female fantasy is to partake in an adventure and to be rescued by the man? Why is this story so ingrained in the human psyche? I'm going to continue here. Compare your experience watching the latest James Bond or Star Wars thriller with, say, going to a Bible study. The guaranteed success of each new release makes it clear. Adventure is written into the heart of a man. And it's not just about having fun. Adventure requires something of us, puts us to the test. Though we may fear the test, at the same time we yearn to be tested, to discover that we have what it takes. That's why we set off down the Snake River against all sound judgment. Why a buddy and I passed on through grizzly country to find good fishing. Why I went off to Washington, D.C. as a young man to see if I could make it in those shark-infested waters. If a man has lost his desire, says he doesn't want it, that's only because he doesn't know he has what it takes, believes that he will fail the test, and so he decides it's better not to try. For reasons I hope to make clear later, most men hate the unknown, like Cain, and want to settle down and build their own city, get on top of their life. But you can't escape it. There's something wild in the heart of every man. Every man wants to have what it takes. It's the reason why, think about when you are in the presence of a beautiful woman and you want to show off, okay? Right? You want to show off because you want her to know that you have what it takes. Have what it takes to be what? To be a strong and a capable man. Right? Men are valued based on what they provide. And so, if you don't have what it takes, you're not going to provide very much. And so it is natural for a man to want to perform at his best. But I think a lot of men in the modern world have become complacent. They've become unwilling to try. And so when it comes to standing at that plate, and it comes to finding out whether or not they have what it takes, they are slapped in the face. And for a lot of them, it deters them because they want the easy way out. They want things in life to be easy because that's what the modern world feeds them. And the modern world tells them that they need to stop being so aggressive towards their goals. They need to stop being so manly or whatever. It makes men not... It sets you up for failure, okay? Because you're not going to have the drive to be better. You're not going to have the drive to chase your goals, chase that ideal lifestyle. And so are you going to have what it takes? No. And I think it really depresses men. And so we need to have a little adventure in our life. We need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to make things happen. You see, a lot of people are in their life, they're waiting for that call to adventure. Like you see in the movies, right? Some crazy event happens, and the regular, average, everyday Joe who's been sitting on the couch eating Cheetos all of a sudden becomes, I don't know, a superhero, or they get launched into this adventure, right? And people are waiting for that in their life. They're expecting it to happen. Well, guess what? In real life, you need to act upon your free will. That is your call to adventure. When you are sitting on your couch, eating your junk food, your life is miserable, that is your call to adventure. But you don't listen to it, do you? There is so much beyond your doorstep that you don't know. I'm going to continue. This is a battle to fight. Little girls do not invent games where large numbers of people die, where bloodshed is a prerequisite for having fun. Hockey, for example, was not a feminine creation, nor was boxing. A boy wants to attack something, and so does a man, even if it's only a little white ball on a tee. He wants to whack it into kingdom come. On the other hand, when my boys were growing up, they did not sit down to tea parties, They did not call their friends on the phone to talk about their relationships. They grew bored of games that had no element of danger or competition or bloodshed. Cooperative games based on relational interdependence were complete nonsense. No one is killed, they asked. Incredulous. No one wins? What's the point? Look at the global popularity of video games boys and men play. They are overwhelmingly games of battle. The universal nature of this ought to have convinced us by now. The boy is a warrior. The boy is his name. And those are not boyish antics he is doing. When boys play at war, they are rehearsing their part in a much bigger drama. One day, you just might need that boy to defend you. Everyone hates a man until it's time for war. It's like when a country goes to war, everyone's a patriot. Everyone's rooting for the soldiers. Everyone's, pro-military. And then when the war is over, then they come home, and what do we tell them? We tell them, go get a job. Thank you for your service. We don't need you anymore. We need violent men. We need good and capable men. Whether you agree with that or not, it's the truth. When I was a little boy, I loved Nerf guns. I loved plastic swords. I loved fighting my friends with Nerf guns. It was a very common Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. Whenever there was a group of boys and there were little plastic styrofoam shooting guns lying around, we would grab from the stash the biggest, most effective one we could get our hands on. And then one would go out one way, one would go out the other side of the house. And it's war. I was told one day by my father that I was too much of a violent child because of the way I acted. I loved to play violence. And my dad saw that as a bad thing. And so he rounded up all my Nerf guns, and I was not allowed to have them anymore. And I was told that I needed to... I was told that it was bad for me to be exposed to that type of thing. To essentially carry out my masculine trait of playing war and gunning down my friends with Nerf guns and hacking them up with swords, plastic swords. And at the time, being such a young kid, I actually questioned if I was mentally disturbed, I guess would be the word. And now I know that I was not. Now I know that I was simply just a young boy. If you look at a young a child, a male child, they are some of the most violent beings you will ever meet. And while you should discipline your child, this is not them playing these games is not going to turn them into violent adults. Now, if you teach a child that it's okay to beat people or stab somebody whenever you're angry, like that. Okay, maybe then, but what I'm saying is, you can't raise a little girl and a little boy the same way. A little girl will dress up and she will walk out to her father and she will twirl around in her dress, and the father will say, "You look lovely." And that is what makes a little girl happy, is to be noticed. A little boy needs to pick up his Nerf gun and he needs to go to war. A little boy needs to tackle his friend on the football field. If you've ever read the book Warrior, Magician, Lover, it's about the male psyche. And when men are growing up, they hit a stage called the warrior stage. It's an archetype. And this is the stage of the male psyche when men are the most physically active. They are, having these Nerf gun wars. When they're a little older, they might switch over to airsoft wars. They are boxing. They are doing martial arts. They are on the football field beating up their friends, This is not toxic, okay? This is what men need. This is ingrained in their psyche. Some men need this. This is why I support martial arts, men getting into martial arts gyms. The relief that comes off your shoulders when you can punch a man in the face and not get arrested for it, not get put down by it. When you get hit in the face and you tank that shot and you feel like a beast, it flips a switch in your head. And it's therapeutic. It sounds very strange. It sounds very extreme. But this is the society we're living in. We're scared of things like this. We call it toxic. We say, men beating on each other is wrong. They shouldn't do that. I think in a safe manner, like martial arts, a martial arts gym, it is not only safe, but it is necessary. I'm going to continue. We are reading A Beauty to Love. There's nothing so inspiring to a man as a beautiful woman. She'll make you want to charge the castle, slay the giant, leap across the parapets, or maybe hit a home run. One day during Little League game, my son Samuel was so inspired. He liked baseball, but most boys starting out aren't sure they really have it in them to be a great player. Sam was our firstborn, and like so many firstborns, he was cautious. He always let a few pitches go by before he took a swing. And when he did, it was never a full swing. Every one of his hits up till that point were in the infield. Anyway, just as Sam stepped up to the bat this one afternoon, his friend from down the street, a cute little blonde girl, showed up along the first base line. Standing up on tiptoe, she yelled out his name and waved to him, to Sam. Pretending he didn't notice her, he broadened his stance, gripped the bat a little tighter, looked at the pitcher with some fierce in his eye. First one over the plate, he knocked it into center field. A man wants to be the hero to the beauty. And now I'm going to tie this all together. When I was a little boy, I was at a friend's house. More specifically, I was at my parents' friend's house, and they had a son and they had a daughter. And the son was older than me, so he hung out with my older brother. And the daughter was about my age, and as a a young child, I had a little bit of feelings for this girl. And so, as a group of 3 little boys, we grabbed up the Nerf guns. And we ran around playing war. We were riding bikes at some point. From what I can remember, it's a very distant memory. But I remember I had played into this fantasy of St. George and the Dragon. Mind you, I did not know the story at the time. But I had my battle. I rescued the beauty. And so she bought into it. And as we were at the end of our little adventure, she said to me, "This is the end of the fairy tale." And I said, "No, there's one thing missing." And she said, "You're right. It always ends with a kiss." And I didn't do it. Now, it's a stupid story. I was a little kid. But when I think about it, I think about how men expect the adventure. They expect the battle. They expect the beauty. And they are sold this Hollywood extreme version of it through these superhero movies or whatever. But what you don't realize is that this story is more relevant in your life than you care to acknowledge. You see, sometimes in life, you're going to have to stand up to the chaos monster. And if you don't know what the chaos monster is, the chaos monster is when it's the disorder in your life. It's the mental the battle in the mind. It's the limiting beliefs. It's all this stuff. It's the stresses, the whatever. It's any disorder in your life. And sometimes as men we don't stand against it. And so we don't get the beauty. We don't rescue the beauty. We don't know when to stand up and be men because society not only discourages us, but it lies to us. So I want to ask you today, where in your life can you have a little more adventure? What battles can you win today? What dragons can you slay today? And what beauty can you rescue? What beauty can you rescue from her own battles? This story isn't just fantasy. It's deeply ingrained in your psyche. It is a part of you, and it is a part of your life. So own it. And act on it. Thank you. And I'll see you guys next time.